I was super excited to see all the emails come over because you guys were on my short list to talk to, and you saved me a whole bunch of research and jumping through hoops to figure out who to talk to.
Oh,
Always a
that's
fantastic
fantastic.
tournament. Yeah,
Wow, look at that ship map behind you.
yeah, that's from the old school blueprint box that I keep finding various versions of that box from like open and unopened just for like 10, $15, and it's really hard not to grab a copy every time I see it. I think I'm up to three boxes right now. One of them ended up being just the one I was going to open up and frame, and um, that's actually one of the more interesting ones. Like it's just the external, here's what it looks like, that kind of stuff. Um, some of them not so interesting. Like you're like, okay, that's 10,000 rooms on deck C or whatever. Uh,
Right.
you can find cetacean offs in the bowling alleys at least.
That's funny. So I'm John Adam. I'm the one that reached out to you.
Hey, John.
And I came across your website. I know that I'm sure your site has a lot of Star Trek fans that pay attention, and we're trying to get the word out to those folks. So I thought maybe we could chat and we could give you something to post up there and you
Yeah,
could give your folks something to look at.
yeah, and it works out really well because my interview hopper is completely empty right now. I've interviewed everyone that I can think of and get a hold of. Um, some authors are a lot easier than others to get in contact with. Some of them you really need an act of Congress to get it done, and we know how that stuff works out.
Right.
Um, so I am actually quite excited to talk to you guys for one big reason, which is I don't know anything about the game, and I don't know anything about you, and I don't know anything about your company. I know a whole bunch about like Star Trek authors, about Star Trek publishers. So let's start with the name of your company and what you guys are about.
Yeah. Bill, why don't you jump in with that?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so our company is called Beadle and Grimms. We've been around for 6 or 7 years. We started out as a licensee of Wizards of the Coast, the company that makes Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. Um, and our original core business was built around role-playing games, building deluxe editions of D&D adventures when they were released. We would release a big box set of everything that you would want to make the game as immersive as possible, to give you handouts when the players found a letter or um, a ledger or it's something that they found in that world that you could present to them in the real world. We made jewelry and DM aids and player aids and just everything we could think of to make the game bring everybody in at the table, feel like they were really in it and together and keep them focused on the game that everybody was playing together. So that was sort of the initial focus of the company. And as time has gone on, we've tried to take those skills and lessons that we've learned by working with D&D and apply them to other genres, other IPs, and other gaming systems as other ways of getting people around a table, getting them all really focused on something really fun and keeping them engaged and immersed in that game.
Okay, so what other IPs are you guys working on or have worked on?
Yeah, so we've worked with Critical Role is a popular D&D streaming show,
Mhm.
and their publishing arm is Darrington Press. And so we've worked with Darrington Press to do a big box edition of their D&D setting, but they also released their own horror genre game called
Okay.
Candela Obscura, and we just created a book and boxed edition for that game as well. Um,
So
and
is this Star Trek game the first one that's completely bespoke by your company?
Not the first. We actually we our first murder mystery we did what is from the Magic the Gathering IP. So that's similar to this in that we were using an intellectual property of an existing world, but making a game that isn't directly related to anything that the Magic team was doing. So we did a murder mystery called Murders at Karloff Manor. Um, and we had a great time doing it. It was a big success, very happy with the product. And we loved the idea of making something like um, that didn't take a lot of learning. You know, you can pick up one of these murder mystery games, kind of figure out how the game works in 10 or 15 minutes. You can play by yourself, you can play with three people, you can play with six people. They're very variable, very malleable. You play through them in, somewhere between 2 and 4 hours. So it makes just sort of a perfect game night thing that's adjustable to whoever happens to be there. And just like the Magic one, the Magic one was great if you were a big Magic the Gathering fan, but it
Hmm.
was also completely accessible if you knew nothing about Magic the Gathering and just thought the setting was cool. And we tried to bring that to these Star Trek products as well, where we have lots of very cool Easter eggs and details that will be exciting for a Star Trek fan, but anybody could pick it up and play it. You don't have to know Star Trek to enjoy it.
Right.
Right.
I've never actually played a murder mystery game before.
Hmm.
What does a typical murder mystery game actually play like? What's a playthrough actually feel like, and what happens in it?
So generally you're sort of brought in as the team that needs to pour over the evidence that's been collected and
Hmm.
find those details or those clues that the original folks couldn't figure out. It's like we've got this murder mystery, we've got all of these dossiers, and we've got these hints, and we've got these interviews, and we just can't figure it out. Can you help us? And
Hmm.
so you, the player, come in and you start reading through everything that's been collected, and it's your job to say, oh, wait a minute, they didn't make the connection of this here. This reveals that this here, there's something that they missed. And when you figure that out through careful note taking and careful attention to detail,
Right.
you're the one that can say, "Oh, here's what you missed. This is the person that you should be looking for." And a lot of times these games are built into stages, and we've done that with this murder mystery game for Star Trek. This actually comes in 3 stages. So in stage one, you have to try to exonerate Captain Liam Shaw from Star Trek Picard. Once you do that successfully, the game tells you, okay, go ahead and open envelope number 2 for stage 2. You open that up, and now there's more things for you to look at. And they have their own set of clues, but they also might pull in something from that first set that you didn't think was important at the time, but now it becomes important.
Hmm.
And so once you figure out stage 2, you go to stage 3, which in our game is a bit shorter. It's like the end thing that you have to figure out. And then you have the satisfaction of having figured out the whole story, what went on, who the murderer was, and that's the end of the game.
I think on sort of a structural level, what's fun about these games is that they very much have a sort of sandbox quality to them, if I
Hmm.
can take that term from video games, where basically you're not told exactly what order to do things in, what order to look at things. You know, you'll open that envelope and there'll be six different documents in there full of information. And it's up to you to figure out what order you're going to deal with them in. What do you think is important and not important? And sort of create your own path through this story of figuring out how to get from point A to point B. And I think that's really fun, especially for a group of people to, have this sort of pile of things to think through. And you might be at a table with four people and go, okay, John, you look at this stuff, and I'll look at this stuff and you look at this stuff and tell me what you think is important and we'll share notes. And so it's a really fun collaborative kind of thing as you all sort of figure out how to navigate your way through the story.
So is this story always going to play exactly the same way every time you play it? Is it just like a single narrative that runs through it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so these murder mysteries and escape room games, and to be clear, there's two games in our Kickstarter. One of them is a murder mystery game. One of them is an escape room game. They're similar in structure, but we could talk about the differences between them. But these games are generally designed to be one play games. So you're gonna take it, you're gonna have a game night, everybody gets to play this thing together. And some of the things that are in the box we've designed to be really cool keepsakes, especially if you're a Star Trek fan. There's some really nice stuff in there. But they are designed as one play games, because there is only one story to be told and solved.
Right. So does it necessarily need a game master or someone that's actually like rolling the dice or playing the cards or anything like that? So a whole group of brand new people can pick it up without having one person that's already been through the grinder.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's kind of the idea of these box sets is that
Mhm.
the set is your game master. So
Right.
it's going to give you the details that you need to find your way through. And so nobody has to run the game. Nobody has to do a lot of prep in advance or really, learn the details of the story. You can just break this thing out, share it around, people figure it out in a few minutes and you're going.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, I've never played one of these before, so the
Well, we'll have to
concept of
fix
it,
that.
yeah, absolutely. I've run into the prior Star Trek murder mystery that was set with the Next Generation crew.
Uh-huh.
And I have no idea who published that one or when it even came out, but I keep running into it on, I'm looking for Star Trek books all the time. And that one usually comes up because it says it comes with, a book of some sort, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, but I don't know anything about these games. And it seems like something that like I'm not going to be able to just like access that easily. But it sounds like what you're saying is that your version of this is very accessible both to the people that enjoy these kinds of games and Star Trek fans. And you don't need to learn 17,000 different rules, which as much as I love like what Modifius is doing, it's
Right.
their RPG stuff is standard RPG stuff, right? So you really need to have a game master, you need to have the books, you need to have the dice, you need to have figurines, you need to have this, you need to have that.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so this sounds like it's going to be nice and easy to pick up. Uh, I know that I ran into it from a Facebook ad on one of my like one of the Facebook Star Trek groups that I'm in, and I saw it and I was like, "There's no way that's official, is it?" Then you click through and it has like an official Kickstarter and it had all the makings of like a real thing. So I was super excited to see that the main game, of course, is the one that the murder mystery that you're advertising the most because that seems like it's got the most appeal. But the other one is you said it's an escape room set during Strange New Worlds, if I'm remembering correctly.
That's correct.
What
Yep.
Yep.
yeah, what can you say about that game?
So, escape room games are similar to murder mysteries in that you don't, there's no game master. You just pop open the box and you read the instructions and you go from there.
Hmm.
It's a little different in that in an escape room game, you are looking for clues in order to get out of a situation or to solve a problem. You're not solving a murder mystery per se, but it's much more puzzle intense, whereas murder mysteries are more story focused. And
Hmm.
so with the escape room, you are presented with a puzzle that you have to solve. And once you solve that puzzle, that will allow you to move on to the next puzzle. So folks who like those kinds of brain teaser puzzles, things to figure out, love those kinds of escape room experiences. And when we
Yeah.
thought about the Star Trek fan, we thought that that's a Venn diagram where there's a lot of overlap, I would think. People who like to solve problems and puzzles and love Star Trek.
Yeah. So in this
Right.
particular game, not to spoil anything, but it's based in Strange New Worlds, and the Enterprise comes across a derelict spaceship. And so when you lead the boarding party onto this derelict craft, you're going to have to solve some problems in order to figure out what happened to it. That might involve figuring out how to translate the language. It might involve figuring out how to get the engines restarted. There's going to be a series of problems that require solutions that you may have to sort of improvise and um, figure out as a group in order to get to the next stage. So it's as John said, it's similar in that you are all solving problems together. They're just much more puzzle based and less, the murder mystery is a lot of text-based documents where you're trying to figure out, oh, there's this one statement in this, this one sentence in this witness statement that turns out to be really important that maybe somebody else didn't understand the importance of. I think they appeal to a lot of the same audiences. It's just two very sort of different ways of having that same group experience. That's so fun.
Right. So I have another naive question for you. What kind
Hmm.
of fail states exist in these games? Is there such a thing in either of these?
So type of what? Sorry, say again.
Like a fail state, like you just like you can't figure something out. So is that like is there a
Oh,
game over? Should I say?
gotcha, gotcha. So there's no way to lose it per se.
Hmm.
Uh, but one of the really fun things that, and John is the lead on the murder mystery, so he can talk a little bit more about this. But one of the really fun things that we've developed for these games is there is an augmented reality pin that is the badge of your one of the. There you go. That's the one
Okay.
from your game, right?
Yeah, this is from
From
the
your
murder mystery.
card. Yeah. So you can use your phone, you scan that badge, and it'll open up an app on your phone that you can interact with. And some of that will be getting, maybe a communication from Captain Shaw. And Todd Stashwick, who played Captain Shaw, is involved with the development of this game and maybe might show up in your game at some point or another. Um, but also, as you interact with this app on your phone, it does have an ability to give you hints. So you can ask hints at different levels. Oh, there you go. Um, so if you get stuck, you can say, I'm stuck at this stage. Can you give me a little bit of a little bit of a push in which direction to go? And that'll help you make sure that the table doesn't get bored and doesn't get too stuck on something because, we've designed these to be not impossible, but fairly challenging, and so people might get stuck here and there.
Right. And as much as you can play test something, you're always going to get people that just keep going down the wrong path and don't understand what you're trying to get to.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like I've done that on a few games because like I've never played either of these style of games, but my sister and her family, her kids are just now old enough that they're getting into like the more esoteric board games. So we're not doing Sorry or Monopoly or Trouble anymore. We're doing um uh Carcinone, and then we just played one with like a bunch of chips and like minerals and Settlers of Catan and Code
Sure.
Word and
Yeah.
like they're really getting into like the more crazy games. And we actually just played I think it was Modifius that did the Star Trek Buffer Time game,
Mm-hmm.
which that one was it was frustrating to learn because none of us had ever played a game like that before. And I think
Okay.
the instructions had some assumptions that like, hey, like people know that like this is what we're talking about when we're talking about phases or rounds or sets. And once we actually like fully understood what we were doing, fantastic game, loved it. But like this is the kind of stuff that I'm like starting to get more into only because like family members are starting to play it more and more. Um,
Yeah.
which is it's exciting to see new games come out and actually be excited to play them instead of like going, oh God, yet another rule system to learn or yet another set of widgets to have sitting in a box for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Uh, so uh, we didn't actually get into both of your introductions. If you could just one by one tell me who you are and who you are to the project.
Sure.
Sure, yeah. I'm John Ciccolini. I am leading the murder mystery Murder on the Titan A game. I am one of the founders of Beadle and Grimm's, and I also played an alien in Star Trek Voyager in one episode. So my acting background has come full circle here.
And I'm Bill Rayor. I'm also one of the founding members of Beadle and Grimm's. I am my brother is now the lead on Mary Celeste, which is the escape room for Strange New Worlds. But I was involved in bringing the initial pitch to Paramount and getting them to very graciously agree to let us try out this crazy idea with their IP and yeah, I've been with the group the whole time and yeah, very excited.
So how long did that pitch from like initial like you have the light bulb moment until you actually got like ink on paper with Paramount? Like how what was that time frame?
Boy, 6 months?
Okay, that's pretty good lead time then.
I want to
Uh,
guess. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
they were incredibly accommodating and really enthusiastic. Um, but you want to make sure that you've got the right IP, you've got the right concept for that IP, matching up everything correctly, got the timing right. Um, so it just took some navigating to make sure that we were landing in exactly the right spot. But great team to work with, and we're just really grateful for that they've trusted us with something this important.
Yeah, you mentioned timing. Todd Stashwork, of course, is done with the card. There's always been rumors and flirting of like a new Star Trek Legends series, which I would full heartedly endorse. I would watch the heck out of it. I loved his work in season 3 of Picard.
Yeah.
Um, but for Strange New Worlds, they've got what are we up to now? Season 4, season 3? Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
that's coming out soon. So you guys are going to be releasing this game right before the next season comes out. That definitely is fortuitous timing.
Yeah, I mean, we've been loving that show. That's, my wife hadn't sh watched Star Trek since Next Generation, and that's the one that got her pulled back into it. I think it's a really well done, very accessible series, and we thought that would be a great first series to launch with. In success, our hope is that we're able to do one of these for each of the sort of storylines that exist in this universe, and I think we can. They all present really interesting possibilities and challenges, and um, the products that we do for them will be slightly different to make sure again that we're fitting the story, but we're really hopeful that with if these first two are a success, that we can keep doing this.
Yeah.
Uh, that being said, do you have other products like this or projects like this in the pipeline? Like even if it's just a dream pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, our like Bill said, our dream would be to do another two Star Trek type murder mystery slash escape room game type products pretty quickly.
Right.
We have resources in place so that if these do as well as we hope that they'll do, that we can hit the ground running.
Yeah, the both of them feel like the common conceit is a cooperative, like get from A to B, like in a storyline of some sort. So
Yeah.
even if it's not necessarily a murder mystery or an escape room, you can make larger adventures that or different types of adventures, just going on a journey for to a place successfully or not. Almost like a wagon train of some sort, in the stars. But it there's definitely room for this, and of course, trekkers, they all are super hungry for new narrative content that fleshes out background. Uh, who does the writing for these, and about like how much like new story do you feel is actually coming through these games?
Yeah, so for the murder mystery, we hired someone. Her name is Ann Tibbetts. She was an accomplished, or she is an accomplished murder mystery writer,
Mhm.
particularly in the sci-fi genre. And she also happens to be an extreme Star Trek fan. So when we discovered that about her, we felt like, okay, this is a perfect fit for this project. Let's bring someone in who's going to really be able to lay in the Star Trek lore, who's going to really be able to play to those Star Trek fans, who's going to be able to come up with a really great murder mystery plot. And then we will help with the gamizing of it, if you will, right? Making sure that it's actually playable within a boxed game and not just a narrative. And that collaboration has worked out really well.
Right. So did she also write the other one?
No, so with the escape room product, we created a story outline that was our initial pitch to Paramount. But the real structure of it has been a collaboration between Charlie, who's the lead on the Beadle and Grimm side, and a professional puzzle maker named Spencer Beebe, who's just been a great partner. And anytime that since every beat of that is based around some kind of a puzzle, the puzzle in a way becomes the story, or it becomes that story beat. So it's been a collaborative thing, working with him, and that's worked out really well so far for that one.
Yeah, that's I feel like I was not given the correct like career day opportunities back when I was in middle school or high school, because I would have loved to have knowledge about these kinds of like jobs that are out there, like a professional puzzle maker. Yeah, please.
Right, right.
I wish that was an option.
Yeah, yeah, it's a real skill, man. I mean, we when we first started this project, we kind of thought we would do it ourselves, and we started trying to build these things, and we were like, oh my God, this is very, very challenging to figure out how to not just to conceive the puzzle itself, but to conceive it in such a way that it can be challenging without being, you know, emotionally destructive to the players, and
Right, right,
just finding those. He's very good at finding that balance of challenging different parts of your brain, um, but making it survivable and feel rewarding when you do hit on it.
right. That's super exciting. So the Kickstarter for both of these, if I remember correctly, they're both tied to the same Kickstarter, yeah?
That's correct. Yeah,
Right. So that ends on the 22nd,
correct. Yep, yep. Week from today.
which is coming up quick. That's only a week away.
Yep.
Yeah. So right now, I'm gonna have to go back and check to see which one I backed. I think I backed the one that gives you both the games. But could you give a brief rundown of the various levels of like what the Kickstarter levels are?
Yes. I'm gonna have to
If you
pull it up.
remember off the top of your head.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Pull it up. I mean, we tried to keep it very simple. We wanted this to be a very straightforward Kickstarter as our first sort of entry into making products for this
Mhm.
audience. So the main focus is on those games, and you get a discount if you buy both of them as a bundle.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Is this your
important
first?
for us. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Is this your first Kickstarter?
No, no. We had a very
Okay.
successful Kickstarter last year for an original board game that is completely our own, not tied to anybody else's IP, called Ring of Chaos. And
Mhm.
then earlier this year, we did a Kickstarter for an original book of adventures that we wrote for Dungeons and Dragons called Faster Purple Worm Kill Kill. So we've done a few.
Yeah.
And the tiers, it was important for us to keep these products affordable because they are a one play night. The Murder on the Titan A you can get if you pledge $38. The Mary Celeste escape room game, which is a little more involved in the components that come with it, is 58. And if you get them both together, you get them for 88. And then we have other tiers where you can get Todd Stashwick's signature included. But that's basically the structure.
Yeah. Now, did you have any stretch goals on that Kickstarter?
Yeah, so we've already hit the first one, which was we took one of the ship maps in each box and expanded them up into poster size.
Oh,
So with
nice.
no additional cost, now one of the elements of that will be poster size. The next one, which we're close to, we're really hoping to get to in the next few days. There's an amazing company called Monument Studios that does um, royalty-free music packages that you can purchase, and they have assembled a collection of music files that are all sort of sci-fi related provide sort of a perfect background for playing one of these games at home. And that package will be offered free to every backer if we hit 125,000. And we're somewhere around 110 right now. So I feel very confident that we can get there in the last week.
Yeah. Especially with the six people I'm going to send you with this interview. I kid. There's actually a ton of people that go through that. They're like, oh, hey, I saw your video, and I'm like, it's jarring, but great to hear.
Yeah, it's
Just like
awesome,
when I got
man.
the email out of the blue from you guys, where I was like, this is great. I love the feeling of people actually appreciating the interviews that I'm doing, or at least my Google juice is strong enough that when people search for Star Trek books, they land in my lap.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, look, we know that we have a very successful company that operates in one space, but Star Trek is its own space, and we're just grateful for any opportunity to communicate with the people in your ecosystem and hopefully convince some people to come check us out and give us a shot.
Yeah, they're I think I remember now the stretch goal, why I was so excited about the stretch goals is because I'm also a huge spaceship fan, specifically like Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
And I moderate a subreddit that's specifically for Star Trek spaceships. And we got like 20,000 people that are subscribed to it. Like how many of those are bots or real people? I don't know, but there's enough people that go through there that like I'm always excited to see a new model or a new thing that comes through that directly addresses the two loves of my life, spaceships and Star Trek.
Right.
And you mentioning Oz Stashwick's signature reminded me that Fan Home has a new series of ships that are coming out, and they led with the Titan A, which of course is the ship from your games as well. And he
Yeah.
was signing those at one of the conventions. Like you buy a ship there, you could sign it for like an extra couple bucks, or maybe even for free. I'm not sure, but I feel like that I have the opportunity now to get two different versions of his signatures Because I'm assuming the stretch goal or the one of the goals on yours is the signature will be on the outside of the box.
So that's an add-on that you can purchase. It's not a stretch goal. So yeah,
Right.
you can purchase it and we'll add it to either box, whichever one you want. Um, and that'll be a signature plate that's affixed to the box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Super exciting. That is so cool.
He's
Uh,
such a good guy. I mean,
yeah, I
just an
I
amazing
did not meet
individual.
him, but I walked past him and I saw him on stage a couple times at July of this year. There's a convention called Shore Leave that happens. It's happening in Lancaster, Pennsylvania nowadays.
Mm.
It used to be over in Maryland, but the hotel got shut down that they were in, and it's one of the larger fan-run Star Trek events. And he was the modern Star Trek representative that they invited. They've had uh, Spock, um, Ethan Peck, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And then they've also had Anson Mount down there, and then this time they also had Amanda Tapping and like a whole bunch of other people. But I didn't realize how tall that guy was. Like I'm 6'6" myself, so I'm used to being like head and shoulders above everyone else.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah,
they like walk past me, and I was like, oh hey, you never know how tall someone is when they're on TV.
for sure.
Um, Also that guy's inked up. He's got like tattoos all the way down the arm
Yep,
there that again, you never see that when they're wearing their Class A,
sure.
Star Trek uniforms. Like you never know who's got tattoos in Star Trek because they've got uniforms down to their wrists, unless it's Kirk having his arms ripped out of his shirt.
Yeah, well, Todd's also a big D&D guy, so that's how we got to know him initially, and
Hmm.
this just turned out to be a really fortuitous thing that we happen to know somebody who was so important in that space.
Right.
His gaming room is museum level. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
I think I've seen an interview with him in that room, and I don't think I knew that that was actually like his at the time. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to go back and watch that interview again, or maybe it was a promo for something where he was
Yeah.
like, "Look at these spaceships and blah blah blah," and I was like, "There's a whole bunch of non-Star Trek stuff behind you, sir, but I am like looking at what you got."
Yeah, if you go on our Kickstarter site and look at the video that he did for us, that's shot in his game room. You can get a glimpse of it in the background. Just a
I
glimpse,
think
but it's there.
I
Yeah.
think that might be what I'm thinking of,
Yeah, yeah.
because yeah, it's a well done video, and I was like, "Oh goodness gracious, look at all the stuff he's got behind him."
Exactly.
Speaking
That's
of,
just a sampling. It's crazy.
yeah, you both have some really nice displays behind you. You want to talk about what's on those shelves
Well,
tonight?
thank you for looking past my messy desk at the shelves. The shelves are
I,
much better than the
I
desks
do have
over
to be
there.
honest. Just having dogs in the frame distracted me so much that I actually had to
Oh
move my
yeah.
camera. So I was just like, because yeah, that guy. Back when I had a beagle, that's how he would use his bed as well. Like just
Yeah.
the butt, like nothing else. Like, what are you doing, guy?
Yeah, so I mean, my shelf that's mostly Beadle and Grimm stuff. The stuff on the top are those big box sets that I was talking about that we make for D&D.
Hmm.
Um, some of our dice are on there, and then on the bottom shelf, there's a bunch of our Magic the Gathering sets that we've done over the years. So,
Okay,
and those
cool. So
big
you
tubes
guys,
in the corner are full of maps for D&D. They're big D&D maps that we've made over
so
the
do
years.
you design your own dice?
We do. Yeah. Yeah. We have a line of dice for D&D and yeah, we're in a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Right. So I've dabbled in D&D. We did I did one adventure in the what was it like D&D Journeys or something like that that was like supposed to be like really pared back and easily accessible. And
Oh, okay.
the group that I was with did the very standard thing of like making it through 8 nights, and then like various people had to like take time off, and then we just couldn't get anyone at the same table again.
Right.
But
Right.
so I'm close enough to D&D to know that dice are pretty important, and that there's like certain things in dice to look for, and some people just go crazy over dice. And I was ostracized because I brought some like cheap Amazon dice that I bought for $20 for the whole set. Um, I like it was all good natured ribbing, but just the same. Um, so like, what kind of dice sets are you guys making, and how many like different sets do you have?
Yeah, so we have a few different lines. One of them is called our character class dice sets. And these are, if I'm running a fighter, I want a set of dice that are specifically for a fighter. And so they're sort of colored for a fighter, but they also have extra dice that a fighter is going to more often need than any other class. And so the same thing with the rogue. Like our rogue set has a bunch of extra D6 dice because they use a lot of D6 for their sneak attack. So we have that set of dice. We also have a set of dice that are what we call the Dungeons and Dragons Classic Module dice collections. These are brand new and they come in a little box that looks like an old 80s classic D&D adventure. And so it's for more of the sort of mature D&D fan who remembers those days and like loves looking back at those things. And so you open those up and they have dice that are specifically designed for that adventure, that classic D&D adventure.
And how does someone go about getting those? Do you guys have a web store that you just sell your product straight through?
Yeah, we do. Beadleandgrims.com. We've got all of that available there. And then some of our stuff like the dice and like the Star Trek sets when they come out next year, we do sell a lot of stuff into Game and Hobby. So there you can find a lot of Beadle and Grimm stuff there, and that's where Star Trek will go and live after the Kickstarter. So you can support your local game and hobby stores. They need you. We love them. We want them to survive. So you know, go out there and give them your hard-earned money.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I did actually consider like just waiting until everything was like on the street to order it through my local comic shop. Shout out
Right.
to Follow Comics. They're
Yep.
they're great people. Like half the store is games, and you could easily go in there and spend your entire paycheck on just like one table's worth of like some of these games are like hellaciously expensive, like
Sure.
100, $200, but like those are the ones that like it's for the refined gamer, if you will, people that know what they're looking for and have been. You're going to be able to play it like every weekend for the rest of your life and probably have a different experience every time. Like I would assume for those.
Yeah.
I've almost been rodeoed into playing some of those, and I compare it to the ones that I've played in the past. I'm like, what's it like? Compared to isn't there one called like Call of Cthulhu?
Sure.
That like
That Death
yeah,
May
that
Die
that's
is that big one, that big set
yeah,
with the minis and everything. Yeah.
yeah, that you have to like work cooperatively against like the end of the world against and like I'm like that's about the limit of like what I can get into nowadays for like for games, and those can go like all weekend long.
Yeah.
But when everyone's like, oh yeah, this game's gonna be like 10 times as long as that one, I'm like, no, I don't have the space in my schedule, unfortunately. I'll
Right.
hang out with you guys though and eat pizza while you're breaking your brains on how to save the universe.
Well, the nice thing is that, the game industry has become very diversified, and I think you can find something for any group of people and any taste and any sort of, level of patience or enthusiasm or, and um but again, part of the reason that we think these games are so popular because these murder mysteries and escape room games are extremely popular right now. If you go to Barnes and Noble, you'll see a whole shelf of them. Um, and I think the reason that they're so popular is because you can pop them open with, any group of people, large or small, doesn't matter how many people show up. If, like you were saying with D&D, if half your people don't show up, you can't really play. With this, if you've got a game night and only half the people can show up, this is a perfect solution to just go, okay, well, this time we're just going to play this murder mystery game, and whoever shows up, we'll all play it together. It'll be a one session thing, and we pick up something else next week.
Right.
Um, so it's a great alternative when when you've got that particular sort of night ahead of you, and um, that it's good for just about all ages. We've played these things with younger kids, and they have a great time. It's not complicated. It's just very collaborative and fun.
Yeah, and this feels like something that you can put into like a friend group rotation that like you got 20 people that play these types of games, and you could just like pass it around to various people, which I would not personally be able to do that. I enjoy the actual act of collecting it and putting it on a shelf and like looking at the thing,
Right,
and giving
right.
it to someone else to play. I'd be like, yeah, I'll buy you your own copy. Which like behind this poster, I've got a whole bunch of old 3.5 inch floppy and CD-ROM Star Trek games up there.
Oh my Lord.
Which the main reason that this is there is because there's a fish tank right about there that you see a fish moving
Yep,
around in.
yep. I see it. Yep.
And I've got a half dozen cats in my house that love to jump up there and knock over all the Lego that are on top of the fish tank. So, yeah, it's there because I like Star Trek, but it's also there to keep the dang cats off there, as my Lego Voltron will attest to in the 2 or 3 bags that I had to slide it all in when someone jumped up there while I was napping in here one day. Cats,
Hilarious.
which I'll say you never see a dog do that, but I've had dogs and I know they jump up on stuff plenty of
Oh
times too.
yeah. Yeah. Especially when they're this size. He can get to just about anywhere he wants to go. So
Yeah, my Beagle that I had for 17 years, he had springs in his legs, but he wasn't smart enough to know it. So he could clear like a 6 foot wooden fence, no problem. Like he could go up and over that bad boy, but he just like never realized it. And I never realized it until he actually saw like a lizard that he wanted to go up after one time, and he went straight up the wall, hit the overhang of the house to get the lizard. Lizard got away, so
oh my Lord.
fine on that.
Wow.
But that's when I was like, buddy, don't figure it out. Like just don't
Yeah.
realize what you just did
It's
because you
it's
cleared that fence. Yeah,
it's
no
best that
problem.
they don't know what they're capable of. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So John, what do you have on your shelf behind you?
A lot of the same stuff as Bill. I've got a lot of our premium edition boxes for D&D. I've
Hmm.
got one for Pathfinder. I've got a copy of our platinum edition Ring of Chaos board game. This is like a
Okay.
card and board game that we that's our own property. And then I have some other things like some a critical role book. I have a copy of our Magic Murder Mystery game. I have some Game of Thrones fiction up there because I'm a big fan. But yeah, the usual. Oh, and up on the wall, we do a lot of maps. We also do Dungeon Master screens that have like all new art. That's always really fun to work on. So I converted one of our Dungeon Master screens into a piece of art that I have hanging up there, and one of our maps, one of my favorite maps, is also up on the wall too.
Hey, cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of not fake maps, but fictional maps.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it ties into my love of like blueprints and just being like, ah, yes, that's where the arbitoire of the kingdom is, and this is where the throne room is, and the various roads and avenues.
Yeah, I love maps. It's my way in.
Now, have you made any of those maps yourself?
No, not me. No, usually what we do is conceptualize the kind of map that we want and then hand it over to our cartographer.
Okay, yeah. So, man, that's another job that I wish I'd known about when I was a kid, like a
Yeah.
fictional cartographer. Like you could just like make up maps. People enjoy watching them, huh? Looking at them.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so, it's really fun to watch them get created, but we know that there are people who are serious experts and artists at creating these things, and we're very fortunate to have a small group of people that we really trust to create amazing stuff whenever we need these things.
Yeah.
Man, what a world. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, my day job is running projects for a state agency, specifically with a bunch of accountants. So it's not glamorous work, but uh, these are the kinds of jobs that I dream about during the day when I'm looking at policy revisions for actuary tables and what kind of program are we going to run in 3 years? So if it gets approved, and maybe it won't get approved, but you got to do a lot of legwork before it gets approved,
Right.
which honestly I think is a lot like how you guys like you do a lot of work on the like IP proposals before they'll even like look at it, I would assume. So
Yep.
you put a lot on the line before you get that official okay. And even after you get the okay, it's still not really out until it's out.
Right.
100% true. Yeah. I mean, like, listen, this is our dream job. We started this company 6 or 7 years ago, not thinking that we would all be able to quit our corporate jobs and do this full time. And we're really grateful that it's turned out this way. But, there's still a lot. It's still a job. There's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of legal stuff you have to do in order to get one of these IP contracts. And as you say, a lot of legwork to be done in winning these contracts and getting an agreement in place. When we first went to Wizards of the Coast, the company that makes D&D, with the idea for our first product, we had to, put in a serious chunk of our own money in order to go out and make a prototype. It wasn't, we weren't going to win it just by walking in and trying to describe something. We had to go out and make it and show it to them and show them that we had the creativity and the knowledge and the love of their game, that we were going to damn well follow through with this thing. So yeah, and you put a lot of work into things that don't work out, just like any other company, and it can be frustrating. But as I said, it's still a dream job and still a lot of fun to do. And seeing this Star Trek project come together has just been a real dream for us. So
So after the 22nd, and you've got all the goals are hit and the Kickstarter's ended, how long are people going to need to wait until they actually have a game in hand?
So we're saying August, and hoping that we beat that.
Okay.
Hoping that we deliver early on that we try and be conservative, right? Because you don't want to tell someone a date and then come in late. It's much better to give them a conservative date and come in early. But that's what we're targeting right now.
So it occurs to me, and I don't want to get too political here, but the sea of change that's coming through the U.S. Is likely going to involve some price changes on goods that are printed or manufactured overseas. Uh, how are you guys inoculating yourselves against like major changes like that?
I don't think anybody knows how to inoculate themselves from what's going to happen in the next 4 years. Um,
Mm.
it's a scary time for sure, and I think I don't think a lot of people outside of that aren't involved in the manufacturing chain understand just how monumentally disruptive some of these ideas are,
Mhm.
and how directly impactful that they will be on your experience of going to a store and trying to buy the things that you want. Um, I don't want to get political either, but I do not think that any of these ideas have been explained in a thorough or honest manner, and people are going to be very surprised by the effects and impacts if they actually come to pass. So,
Right. And I
um,
think the policy implementers will be just as surprised because I don't think they've thought through the actual ramifications of some of them.
that might be the scariest portion of the whole thing, but you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume that you guys can lock in the contracts now, though, that for the actual manufacturing of things. And I honestly, I mean, as we just said, who knows what the actual implementation is
Right.
going to look like.
Right.
But if the
Yep.
contracts are in place now for products to be shipped in 8 months,
Well,
hopefully
you
that would
can't, I
protect
mean,
you.
again, we don't want to get too in the weeds here, but you can't lock in tariffs. That's going to be outside of a contract that we make with a factory. There's nothing we
Right.
can do to control that. All we can say is that, for this particular product, for anybody who buys through the Kickstarter, we're committing to what we're going to charge you, and you know what, that if things change for this one, that's going to be on us. But you know, who knows what people like us are going to have to do going forward,
Mhm.
in order to, you know, manage these changes and stay afloat. So you know, there's a lot of unknowns there, and all we can say for this one is that the price is the price. No matter what happens in the next 8 months, we're going to deliver on our promise, and go from there.
Yeah, so that does raise another question though, is that you're locked in for the Kickstarter price, but that
Yep.
doesn't lock in the retail price. So the retail price might be able to help not alleviate completely, but like, yeah, soften the blow a little bit for your company at least, in that you can sell it for the, what the actual cost is when it goes to retail.
Sure,
But
sure. Well,
as you
there's no
both mentioned
question that the
earlier,
retail. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say
no, go
there's
ahead.
no question that the retail price will be higher than what the Kickstarter price is. It's
Hmm.
just going to be a matter of how much. But we're definitely giving people a discount by buying in this early and supporting us and helping us to, you know, get the funds that we need to launch the products.
Launch it.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you have an idea of what the release date difference is going to be? Like we're shooting for August for the Kickstarters. Retail will be a couple months after that, maybe?
It won't be too long after that. You know, we're committed to making sure that we deliver to the backers first and that all of that is satisfied before we sell it into stores or sell it direct to consumers via our website. So that's
Mhm.
that's our main commitment. It's just to make sure that all the backers are satisfied and fulfilled before we move on anywhere else.
And we have a
Yeah, well,
retail tier. So there are some retailers who will get their, you know, products at the same time as our backers because they are backers at this point.
right.
Yeah,
That, that's
good point.
clever. Yeah, that was a good idea, whoever came up with that one, because then you get the retail support. And do they get their name somewhere as well? Like just listed on the Kickstarter page or something like that? I may be thinking of a different Kickstarter that
No,
Yeah,
I
uses like
don't
no,
a
I
retail
don't think
naming
so. No.
incentive. People do love getting their names on stuff, even
that's
if it's
true
just a digital list somewhere on a website that only gets 2 hits a day. But they do enjoy seeing their name out there.
Yes.
for sure.
All right, so I think that I have tapped out on the questions and my curiosities. Did I miss anything that you guys wanted to talk about tonight?
No, this has been great, Adam. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man, just really appreciate it. And just again, we're ending the Kickstarter on Friday the 22nd. So would really appreciate your support in backing us before we close it out.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna try to push as many people as possible because I love to get new Star Trek narrative stuff. And if we play our cards right, you guys are gonna be doing this, like they said in the Logan and Deadpool, like right up until the day you die. So
That's right.
99 more years. Which, what a terrible problem that would be, right? Doing the thing you love for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah, not so bad.
All right, gentlemen, it was a pleasure to speak to you. Hopefully, you'll have another game out in another year or so that we can talk about.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be
Yeah.
great. Really, really appreciate the time. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
All right, man. Have a great evening.
Have a good night.
Good
Bye.
night.